वो चालू कर देंगे।
सब कुछ है। तो क्लास में 2 क्लास हो गया ना सर, है ना?
Okay, good afternoon everyone. We will be continuing from tomorrow's class. I think my voice is audible to all of you. So yesterday's class we will do some revisions. First is deep fungal infections. We all know that mostly the deep fungal infections will produce chronic granulomatous inflammatory response in our body, and usually the infection is subcutaneous, and many a times they will cause systemic mycosis also. So we have discussed about mycetoma, that is caused by either mycetoma that is caused by either eumycetoma, that is true fungi, or actinomycetoma, that is caused by actinomyces, that are filamentous bacteria. So today we will be discussing about other less common types of fungal infections, subcutaneous and systemic fungal infections. All of you can hear my voice? Okay, so what we will do, we will discuss few of the less common fungal infections, and then we will revise the topic and we will finish this up. Remember that systemic fungal infections are usually, some of the characteristic features are usually asked in MCQ examinations. So I will tell you which specific topics they will ask in MCQ examinations, so that you can mark those things and highlight them and keep them for your further studies. So we have read about mycetoma, types of mycetoma, what kind of various features will be seen. Suppose actinomycetoma and eumycetoma, then causative agents of mycetoma. Okay, all of this we have discussed. Now we will discuss about botryomycosis. So botryomycosis is a chronic suppurative inflammatory granulomatous fungal skin disease, okay, which may involve the deeper tissue. Usually subcutaneous involvement is there, but rarely it may involve the systemic systemic symptoms may be also present in cases of botryomycosis. So botryoma means bunch of grapes, and mycosis we know that usually is caused by fungal infection. So botryomycosis is actually not a fungal infection, it is a chronic granulomatous bacterial infection. So as in cases of actinomyces, mycetes, we call it as actinomycosis. So but it is not mycosis, it is basically a bacterial infection, that is filamentous fungi. For same also, botryomycosis is caused by chronic granulomatous disease caused by bacteria, where but the appearance of the lesion is chronic suppurative, somewhat dry looking lesions, giving rise to a suspicion of fungal skin infection. So other terms which include or which is caused to, or what we call synonyms for botryomycosis is bacterial pseudomycosis. Why pseudomycosis? Basically mycosis is fungal infection of the skin. Usually in fungal infection of the skin there will be chronic indurating plaque, okay, like in cases of mycetoma, a thick hard woody plaque which is there for long duration. So that's why this is called as mycosis. हेलो, हाँ मैडम, हाँ 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 मैं आऊँगा मैडम, लेकिन इवनिंग में, अभी तो नहीं आऊँगा मैं.
Welcome.
regarding
Thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate
हाँ ठीक है ना, तो मैं इवनिंग में आऊँगा मैडम, अभी मेरा क्लास है.
113 participants in the conference.
नो इश्यूज है ना, नो इश्यूज. ठीक ठीक ठीक. Okay, I think there was some problem with the connection. So now you can see. I am audible and you can see the PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So we will start with discussion of botryomycosis. Continue with botryomycosis. Okay. So basically, botryomycosis is caused by which bacteria? It is caused by multiple variants of bacteria, that is staphylococcal, most commonly actinomycosis. Again, actinomyces, it may infect the skin of the face and giving rise to chronic induраting inflammation. Apart from it, actinobacilli and granular bacteriosis, that is bacteroides. These bacteria can cause granulomatous inflammation of the skin of the face, giving rise to thick indurated plaque present over the, usually over the face, over the nose. For a long duration this will be present. Okay, so if it is visible now, so we will start with the discussion. So botryomycosis basically caused by actinomycetes, actinobacilli or granular bacteroides. Okay, now live diagnosis of your botryomycosis is basically by demonstration of granules, as we were demonstrating granules in cases of actinomycetes, and the color and consistency of granules will differ in various cases. Like in actinomycotic mycetoma, the grain are composed of very thin filaments, okay, because they are thin filamentous bacilli, whereas in cases of mycotic lesions there will be broad often and so septae and chlamydospores. And growth of organisms in culture and physiological serological tests also will be helping diagnosis. Okay, So botryomycosis is not a very common pathogen, and very rarely it is seen, and it may be one of the analogy of what lesions we see in cases of actinomycetoma. Similar kind of lesions will be seen in the face, but due to the appearance, because of this, what it looks like some grape cluster of grape like appearance, so that's why it is called botryomycosis. Sporotrichosis we have already discussed. Okay. So we will be now discussing about chromoblastomycosis. Now chromoblastomycosis is basically caused by which bacteria or which fungi that are basically which is producing muriform or pigmented pigment producing fungi. So chromoblastomycosis is basically caused by fungi which is producing pigments. Now some of the characteristic features of chromoblastomycosis are presence of muriform bodies or sclerotic bodies, or we call it as medlar bodies or copper penny bodies. So we will see this in the lab diagnosis and histopathological diagnosis in detail. So basically chromoblastomycosis is a chronic slow growing endorated lesions as with all fungal infections, and it will produce a varicose dermatitis. So varicose dermatitis means warty kind of lesions. Okay, so let us see how does these lesions are look like. So most common organisms which are causing chromoblastomycosis, that is pigmented. Chromo means pigment, blasto means exophytic growth, mycosis fungal infection. So what are various organisms which are causing chromoblastomycosis? Phyllophora verrucosa, Fonchiacia pedrosoi, Fonchiacia compacta, and Cladophyllophora carioni. So these are the organisms which are causing pigmented exophytic fungal infection of the same known as chromoblastomycosis. Now rare causes are Rhinocladiella aquapersa. So rare these fungal infections are rarely diagnosed. Most commonly we have to remember Phyllophora verrucosa and Fonchiacia. These are the two main species which are causing chromoblastomycosis. As we know, chromoblastomycosis as such it is rare. Still these lesions are rare. So causative fungi basically they are acquired from your nature, that is saprophytic, that is living in soil. So these saprophytic fungi are not routinely present in our body. These are just accidental host. Okay, whenever suppose somebody is working in a farm, he is getting or she is getting accidentally inoculated by the fungi, then this kind of lesions occur. So mostly seen in which people will be seen in farmers, woodworkers, or laborers. Okay, or some people who are working in jungles, like people who are regularly going for horticulture activities. So this kind of people, they are usually get infected with usually Phyllophora or Fonchiacia due to injury with the wood chip or whatever vegetation is there. Okay. Now soil inhibiting fungi usually will occur in those people who are used to barefoot walking. Okay, mostly seen in people who are walking barefoot, and usually what will happen in the starting, there will be a small nodule, some ulceration will be there, some thickening will be there, pain will rarely any pain will be there until and unless secondary bacterial infection happens over it. Now what happens is that recurrent infections will lead to presence of fibrosis and scarring and lymphatic obstruction, which may resemble elephantiasis. So this type of sequelae are very rare. Usually there will be starting a varicose plaque, which is most commonly seen. Now regarding the various species, first is the Phyllophora. Now Phyllophora verrucosa, how they are seen? See, they are biseptate lesions. Okay, one septa is that, second septa is that, and there will be having a pronounced dark colorate at the apex. Colorate, see here you can see dark colorate okay, at the apex. So there will be biseptate lesions, two septas will be present, okay, and hyaline like thin walled elliptical conidia. So here we can see conidia, multiple conidia which are hyaline walled, and light colored conidia will be present. Now Fonsesia, here I can see it is having a floret like appearance, okay. So Fonsesia will be having a floret like appearance. This is Fonsesia. Now this is the lesion, how clinically it will look like. There will be multiple warty lesions. So in the first instance it will be look like some kind of cutaneous tuberculosis, that is TB verrucocutis or TBVC, and it may also give rise to differential diagnosis of what is differential diagnosis warts. So TB verrucocutis and warts are one of the differential diagnoses of this kind of lesions. Now Cladosporium species, it will be having a single celled conidia, rhinocladia and phyalophora. So all these are basically your lab diagnosis findings or culture findings will be there, or whatever seen in your microscopic examination. Now on clinical examination, a warty papule slowly which is enlarging and becomes hypertrophic after some long duration. So you see how almost looks like TB verrucocutis, almost looks like TB verrucocutis, same warty lesion slowly growing in nature, present over the dorsum of the foot along the middle malleolus, okay. So how this is how it looks like. Now what we can do is we have to make a differential diagnosis in this condition from other type of warty lesions of the skin. So how we will differentiate? First, usually in these cases the lesions will be pigmented, okay. See how pigmented lesions is this. Again these lesions are pigmented. Usually in TB verrucocutis so much pigmentation will not be present. Second thing, characteristic of the lesions, there will be presence of peripheral small ulcerations at the periphery, okay. So lesions have an ulceration, and after a long duration the lesions become thick warty hypertrophic. But usually in cases of TB verrucocutis, starting the lesions will be warty from the start itself. Now second thing is they might have transepidermal elimination, that is discharge of granules, as we have seen in cases of eumycetoma, that is fungal mycetoma. What happens, there is brownish blackish discharge from the skin, that is granules of the fungus. Same in cases of chromoblastomycosis, many a times you might see discharge from the skin. So this is how granular discharge from the skin. So this is how you may be able to differentiate it from TB verrucocutis or warts, okay, cutaneous warts, that is verrucocutis, how you will be able to differentiate it from those conditions. Now secondary ulcerations, always there will be chance because of scratching, secondary bacterial infections, and satellite lesions may be also seen. See, satellite lesions are always characteristic of fungal infections, because suppose somebody has scratched and you are inoculating the periphery of the lesion. After scratching, you are touching the normal skin, so secondary inoculation can occur and satellite lesions may be seen. Hematogenous spreads are usually very rare, and other type of secondary infections may be seen, but they are very rare in cases. So this is Rhinocladia aqueous persa. How does it looks like? See, small branch septate hypae, then linear conidia, okay, and the lesions will be looking like warty lesions present over the arm, okay. So these are how usually this chromoblastomycosis lesions will be looking like: warty, thick warty lesions present over the hands and leg, site of inoculation, slow growing in nature, indurated, present from a long duration. So you have to differentiate it from TB verrucocutis or other conditions. See this Cladosporium caryoni, again small linear conidia, small septate linear conidia, smooth olded Balic block, and this on culture it will be producing olive black colonies. And clinical diagnosis, there will be present of dark thick warty lesions over the skin. Again chromoblastomycosis, how does it look like? culture in SDM media, it will give like thick grayish white colonies. Okay. Now lab diagnosis, irrespective of the species, the pathogen be seen. Usually first diagnosis you should do is biopsy. Now biopsy histopathological examination. See how what I was telling, copper penny, that is copper colored small coin like bodies, they are known as copper penny bodies, or known as sclerotic bodies, or known as medlar bodies. So irrespective of the species, all organisms causing chromoblastomycosis will produce this kind of medlar bodies, and they are nothing but they are this one dividing, multiplying budding cells, budding yeasts, which are budding by binary fission. So that's why due to the binary fission, some bodies you see they are still fissuring. This one is still dividing by binary fission. So multiple in vivo medlar bodies, sclerotic bodies, or copper penny bodies are characteristic of chromoblastomycosis, and all species, that is Phalospora or Fonsesia or Carioni, you will see this medlar body. So many a times chromoblastomycosis lesions will be given, that is chronic thick lesion which is presenting with slow growing varicose plaque present over the foot or the hand after inoculation or vegetative injury. And on histopathology, if medlar bodies, sclerotic bodies, or these copper penny bodies are seen, so the diagnosis of chromoblastomycosis can be made. Now culture, we have discussed culture, how the features look like. We have seen this one culture, again how does it look like on culture. So culture and sensitivity are not important. Histopathology is the most important diagnosis in cases of chromoblastomycosis. So you have to remember, chromoblastomycosis caused by pigmented fungi of various species, slow growing in nature. It is causing chronic granulomatous varicose plaques, okay, pain in the lesions, okay. And what is the treatment? Usually you have to start with antifungals. So itraconazole or terbinafine is given, and rapidly responses to the agent. After 2 weeks of therapy, the lesions go down. Flucytosine was previously used, but nowadays the standard line of treatment is itraconazole and terbinafine only. Now other approaches, surgical approaches can be used for removal of the thick lesions, including cryotherapy, local application of the heat, and all these things can be used. Surgical debridement can be done but only after use of your antifungal therapy. Differential diagnosis, always chromoblastomycosis. So blastomycosis is the differential diagnosis. How it is different? One, presence of abscess and absence of pulmonary lesion. Blastomycosis will involve the lungs, but chromoblastomycosis will involve only the subcutaneous tissue. Very rarely it will involve the systemic organs. And other differential diagnosis, TB vericoacitis we have discussed, syphilis, appendicitis, yaws, and obviously warts and lichen sclerosus chronicus. These are the differential diagnoses we have to consider in cases of chromoblastomycosis. Now pheohypomycosis. What does you mean by pheohypomycosis? That is, pheohypomycosis is caused by dimetaceous fungi. I think diatoms you might have heard in your forensic medicine, that is brown pigmented. So dimetaceous fungi which is producing mycelia, and again it is having a small thin mycelium like growth which is separates from other fungal infections which are producing grains. That is, in mycotic mycetoma there was presence of granules or grains, and sclerotic bodies seen in chromoblastomycosis. So clinical forms, there are various clinical forms we will discuss now, and we'll see. So what are the etiological agents? So Cladiphalophora, then Bipolaris, Curvularia species, then Acroconosis, Gallopavem, then Vengiella. So various etiological agents are there for cases of pheohypomycosis. basically you have to remember that mainly mycelia which is produced most important things. Now we have to discuss how thus clinical forms of phaeohypomycosis are there. First is cutaneous, subcutaneous, cerebral phaeohypomycosis caused by Cladophillophora bantiana and paranasal phaeohypomycosis. So two distinct forms are there, that is cutaneous and subcutaneous, and systemic that involves cerebral and invasive, and paranasal and sinusoidal phaeohypomycosis. So basically what mycelia is growing and invading the skin and subcutaneous tissue as well as cerebral and the other tissues. So you can see here subcutaneous and cutaneous phaeohypomycosis of the face caused by Varangiella dermatitis. See how does lesions is involving over the upper type of the face. Now this kind of lesions are very difficult to make diagnosis, and most importantly diagnosis is done on histopathological examination. So chronic indurated ulcerations will be there for long duration, and ulcers will heal with scarring. And difference from bacterial infection, what will be the difference? In these cases the lesions will be having a characteristic feature will be there, the lesions will be having a chronic course, slow growing, usually painless lesions, whereas in cases of bacterial infections obviously inflammation, pain, swelling, pus will be there. Now other type of lesions you see here, cutaneous phaeohypomycosis caused by Exophiala. Now this looks like a wart or ecthyma or even TB verrucocotis. So very difficult to differentiate both from cutaneous tuberculosis or warts. So only diagnosis which remains is clinical history of chronic lesion and histopathological examination. Again you see subcutaneous phaeohypomycosis, dorsum of the tongue which is fluctuant, tender and no connection to the surface. So very difficult to diagnose. Again it looks like some kind of subcutaneous cyst or abscess. Only when you drain the cyst or abscess and we do biopsy, you will be able to, or do a KH mount examination, you will be able to differentiate. Now periodic acid shift staining, it gives a pus smear from this lesion, gives clear cut this one, your evidence of presence of septate hyphal elements, that is Exophiala. So Exophiala and HDO media, see this how mucoid growth is there. This is plain HDA media and how mucoid growth is there. Exophiala again see small septate branching and small microcanidia. Okay, these hyphae are there. Again you see. I think now you are all able to see. I think there was some technical issues due to disconnection. So okay, I think it is visible to all of you. Okay, we'll start then discuss on phaeohypomycosis. So let us see. Okay, so we have discussed about chromoblastomycosis, phaeohypomycosis we are discussing. Now, as I was telling, it is very difficult to make diagnosis of pheohypomycosis, and usually these are all diagnosis of exclusions, or when we do proper investigations, we arrive on this kind of diagnosis. Okay. Now, again, we did see how the colonies were seen on culture and on histopathological examination. Cladosporum species, see how small branching septate hyphae are seen. Phealora you seen, again small branching septate hyphae are present. Okay, and in cases of Eulogadium, so various species they are showing branching septate hyphae. Okay, so usually in cases of pheohypomycosis, what we have to remember is caused by mycelia like fungi. Okay, not granulomatous fungi or not sclerotic fungi. And usually what will happen, this mycelia will slowly invade the cutaneous tissue, giving rise to subcutaneous or cutaneous or systemic chronic inflammation. Now rhinophyomycosis, I think all of you can hear me and see the PPT. Okay, if you have any issues, please tell me regarding the connection. Okay, so we start with rhinophyomycosis. So rhinophyomycosis is presence of infection in the paranasal sinuses, and what will happen, it will be having a chronic course, and usually seen in old age patients in who are usually in habit of putting their fingernails in the nose. Okay, suppose somebody is working in the field or working in the garden and used to picking and putting the fingernails in the nose, they will be affecting with that. Also, it will be seen in cases of people who are affected by taking inhalation tobacco. Okay, some people they are used to inhaling tobacco. Previously it was very common, usually in older females they used to snore the tobacco or sniff the tobacco, what we call sniffer's tobacco. Okay, so they used to take sniff, and from that they used to get this rhinophyomycosis. So what will happen, this chronic inflammation and infection of the nasal mucosa will spread to the subcutaneous tissue, face and every part, and because of the destructive nature and fibrosis, there will be deformities of face, paranasal sinuses will be there. Apart from it, nasal obstruction, epistaxis, and pain and secondary bacterial infection. Now treatment, essentially we all know mostly itraconazole or ketoconazole can be used. Terbinafine and fluconazole are one of the drugs which can be used as alternative to this drug. Now we have discussed about rhinosporidiosis already in our previous classes. How does it look like? Now next, less common fungal infection, systemic fungal infection, which is subepidermal or localized infection, is known as lobomycosis. And what is it? Is presence of keloidal varicoid nodular lesions or somewhat roundish nodular lesions presenting as tumors or plaques. So it is basically caused by loboa loboi. Okay, and the antigenic is this loboa loboi is very uncommonly seen, and this lobomycosis disease is also very rarely seen, and it is specific to some parts of Brazil, that is Amazon river delta and all those parts of the region, and it will be affecting the exposed part of the skin. See how does it look like. That's why I was calling it is a lobomycosis, lobular kind of lesions, maybe look like some exophytic tumor or some kind of squamous cell carcinoma, but it essentially is caused by fungus loboa loboi, and the lesions will be having extensive varicoid appearance, and previously it was thought to be caused by inoculation, as same as in cases of chromoblastomycosis, but now it has been suggested that it may be associated with arthropoid bite, snake bite, or many times stingray. The Amazon rivers contain stingray, from stingray bite or wound. If somebody is taking bath in the river and he has some minor trauma in the leg, from there that infection may occur. So this loboa loboi causative agents is this kind of disease is specific to only to the Amazon river delta of Brazil. Okay, so GMS strain can be used So that pigmented, see, is like, so beautiful it is showing, is like cells which is presenting in this condition. See how lobomycosis is affecting even other group of animals also. So lobomycosis we have discussed. Now cutaneous lobomycosis, it will be having a shiny, atrophic and discolored skin, and lesions will be having a varicoid appearance. And diagnosis, as we have talked, presence of histopathology we will be able to see. GMS stain, multiple small lesions on GMS stain. What will be seen? Yeast-like cells. Okay, that is Grocott's methamine silver stain. Will be yeast-like lesions will be seen, and KOH mount we can do. Okay, and periodic acid shift also, yeast-like cells will be demonstrated in the tissue. Treatment is surgical excision, and oral clofazine therapy has been suggested. Itraconazole have been suggested, but there is no currently clear-cut guidelines for treatment of this condition, and it is very rare and rarely seen. So we have discussed about most of the fungal infection. We have discussed about mainly mycetoma, eumycetoma, actinomycetoma. Then we have discussed about sporotrichosis. Then we have discussed about chromoblastomycosis. Then we have discussed about pheohypomycosis. Then we have discussed about lobomycosis. So all these fungal infections, few things are common. First, they are slow growing in nature. Then they have causing chronic granulomatous infection of the skin and the systemic organs by accidental inoculation. Thirdly, they will be having a, most importantly, they will be having a slow growing course. Now chromoblastomycosis, mycetoma and other conditions, they will have specific histopathological findings. Like in sporotrichosis, various bodies will be there, that is asteroid bodies and reticular bodies will be seen. Wherein in cases of chromoblastomycosis, what you will be seeing is copper penny medullary bodies or copper penny bodies or sclerotic bodies. Okay, and in cases of lobomycosis, we have seen yeast-like bodies will be seen. Whereas in cases of pheohypomycosis, hyphal infiltration will be seen in the tissue. Hyphae-like bodies will be seen in the tissue. In cases of mycetoma, again differential diagnosis. There will be presence of multiple granules. Okay, white discharging granules, red discharging granules will be seen. Okay, so these are how we are diagnosing the conditions, and you have to remember the basic points of all these conditions. What are the treatments? Treatments are usually mostly in these cases of type of infection, treatment is itraconazole, or in cases of actinomycetoma, combination therapy of amoxicillin and gentamicin or penicillin or rifampicin. This kind of drugs are given. Now regarding systemic fungal infections and subcutaneous fungal infections, you all have to remember that you read only the main points. What are the characteristic bodies which are seen on histopathological, KOH mount, how does it look like, those things you remember. Okay, few clinical features you have to remember. How does it look like histoplasma, it will have a varicose appearance, whereas in cases of lobomycosis, small reddish smooth nodular like lesions will be seen. In mycetoma, hard woody lesions present over the foot will be seen, whereas in cases of pheohypomycosis, there will be involvement of face, involvement of the paranasal sinuses, and pigmented lesions will be seen. So these are few characteristic identifying features will be there. I will give you the PDF by today evening. You read the PDF and go through the specific points, and we will then, if you have any doubts, you can always ask, and we will can have a discussion. If you have any queries on that. So on this note, I'll finish this lecture. Have a good day.